Series 4 deatomizer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Noisy cricket.
Hey, Kay, no, come on, man. You get a Series 4 deatomizer, I get a little midget cricket. Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm gonna break this damn thing.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over the Zylok, and its Incarnon mode. Now, I just came off of a stream going over the weapon, the evolutions I chose, so if you want to check that out, we had about 50 people in there at one point. Really happy with that. I really appreciate you guys checking in and taking a look and asking me questions. I love that. But now we're going to go over the weapon in a video format style. So if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and hit like on this video because I'm going to go in on this weapon. All right, let's get started. All right, let's talk about the evolutions. So for the first one, I chose the reload from empty, increases critical damage by +1, and it stacks up to 2. And it also increases your damage base by 76 points. So this is actually pretty good. You just have to empty the mag twice, and then you're always going to have an additive 2x critical damage multiplier. So instead of it being a 4.2, it is now going to be a little over 6 times, which is very good. The last one the next one is going to be magazine capacity. This one is always going to be preference. These evolution 3s are always preference. You could do accuracy, projectile speed, magazine capacity, or reload. I chose magazine capacity because you'll see why in a second. And for the last one, it is more damage based off status. It's 40%, a balance of crit and status, or just pure crit. Now, if you do the pure crit, the base goes from 8 to 40. Yeah, it increases it by a flat amount of 32%, which is huge. But man, this weapon is so bad. Okay, let's keep going into the video. So this is my build. You'll see a Riven in it. I'm actually going to do all the testing with a Riven just to show you how bad this weapon is. Okay. Now I've got raw damage here and raw damage here. Even though it's an AoE weapon, it has 60% fall off, which makes it basically not an AoE weapon. I don't know what the logic is here. I don't understand why its fall off is so effing high, but it is, and it doesn't feel like an AoE weapon because the only way for you to actually do damage is if they are being shot in the head. So here we've got a Riven. It's just viral multi-shot. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing that you wouldn't build already. The only luxury mod I have in here is galvanized crosshair. Otherwise, I would just put the viral 60/60 mods here, right? Okay, so 120% crit. Now with the first evolution, we've got a little over 6 times critical multiplier and almost 100% status. Now I do have one 60/60 mod. You don't need to run this because it already has so much heat, and you're probably wondering about like prime fulmination. This thing does not benefit from its radial attack, even though they're marketing it as a radial weapon. It doesn't work because its 60% fall off is so debilitating that you don't really see the benefit of that much damage being increased because of the prime fulmination. You're going to have to use this still as a single target weapon. So don't bother running this. Now you're probably wondering, well, what about its augment mod? Eximus advantage. Now this is really solid. That increase to 600% damage is nice, but it only lasts for 10 seconds. And even if you're in the steel path, I don't know how good it could be if you're not running solo. If you've got teammates running around killing stuff like you, how are you going to keep this thing up? And do you really want to go solo mode into steel path with the Zylok? Not after you see this video. Okay, so now you're wondering, well, what about hemorrhage? Well, hemorrhage is good if you have a large amount of impact. However, you do not. Even though you see 600, you are competing with puncture, viral, and heat. Over 2,000 heat, almost 3,000 viral. You are never, and almost 1,000 puncture. You are never seeing that impact proc, ever. So don't bother running that either. All right, so let's go test against these level 190s, right? All right. The base mode is fantastic. It's fantastic. It shreds these guys. It does amazing damage. It's crazy good. That's why you would run this. That's why you would have the extra magazine. You're going to be reloading and proccing that second evolution. However, activating this, it doesn't behave like a normal AoE. It does no damage if you shoot the ground. So, why do you have this as a AoE weapon if it doesn't work like one? You still have to go for the head. And look at that damage fall off. They're right next to him, and it does no damage. This thing is terrible. I could use any other secondary weapon that doesn't have an Incarnon mode and do better than this. This thing is so bad. I don't know what the logic was with making this AoE, but not AoE at the same time. This is with a ribbon, by the way. So yeah, it sure seems pretty good. And yeah, it's really good while not in the Incarnon mode. That I can't lie. But even with this ribbon, it's nothing crazy. It's just viral multi-shot, which allows me to run galvanized crosshairs, just giving me over that little hump of over 100% crit consistently, and getting potentially some oranges. But man, this thing is bad. With this Hornet Strike and everything, I don't know what the point of using this weapon is. I have no idea. Like, when you've got weapons like the new core and the dual toxicist, like all these new, relatively new, good weapons, like why would you use the Zylok? If it's not to just use it in the base mode. Like, this thing does pretty good. Now, this is with Deadhead, but when you activate the Incarnon, it doesn't even one-shot these guys. Seriously? If you saw my dual toxicist video, you would see that that thing drowns this weapon into the ocean in terms of like usefulness, in terms of how good it is. I mean, that AoE, like, what is the point of the AoE if it does nothing? Like, why not just give it a ton of punch through? Like, yeah, wow, that looks great. Ooh, 150k, woo. But it's supposed to be AoE, but its fall off is so dang high. Like, why would I use this? Like, enemies are going to be shredding me in the steel path. When am I going to have time to line up their head and shoot them if I'm not running like Haro or CCing them with like, I guess, Gloom or something? I just don't think this thing is very good. I'm just disappointed, And that fall off is just so punishing. I mean, yeah, it's one-shotting these guys because I've got Deadhead. I've got Hornet Strike in here. You take those mods off, and it does nothing. Yeah, it's just not very good. If you're wondering what weapon you should choose over this, I would probably pick the Despair or the Hate. Those weapons I am hearing are very good, but I would steer clear of this thing. It is just kind of whatever. It basically doesn't feel any different. It's kind of like the Soma, where the base mode is better than the Incarnon, because all this weapon really needed was a bump in its stats. But if you're going to call this an AoE weapon and give it base 600 heat, why are you reducing the fall off by 60%? And you can't quickfire this. You have to do the full charge. So you're sitting here lining up the head, because God knows if you don't shoot them in the head, it's not going to do anything. Look at that. Nothing. You have to hit them in the head. And yeah, this is with Deadhead, but Primary Merciless, forget it. Yeah. Don't pick this weapon. I am being as brutally honest as I can. I'm very disappointed with this weapon. I thought this would be way better. It's trash. Do not pick it. End of story. Well, if you made it to the end, apologies for the rant. I just try to keep it brutally honest. I'm never going to sugarcoat and say one weapon is better or not. But like I said throughout the video, this weapon is not very good and needs some buffs. It, you know, the augment mod could potentially save it, but at the end of the day, it is a fraud of an AoE weapon. That is what I'm calling it. It is a fraud AoE weapon. It doesn't behave like one. It still feels like a single target. Charge up weapon. Just don't use it. It's not good. See you guys next time. Look out for my hate video. It's going live shortly after this one once I unlock it. All right? Peace out.